Hey everyone, and welcome to our Q&A presented by Just Love. I'm your host Paula Jane, and I'm talking to Judy Carroll. Judy is an internationally known author. Her books include The Zeta Message, Human by Day, Zeta by Night, and her most recent book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History. Welcome, Judy.
Hi Paula, hi everyone.
With what is going on down here at present involving the coronavirus and a number of conspiracy theories surfacing and coming to fruition, it is becoming clearly obvious that things are not what they seem. As Judy has covered in her latest book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, there is a group of people who are controlling the world. Judy, you call them the Repterran Controllers. However, they have many names, and for the purpose of this conversation, we'll just call them the Controllers. So the question to be asked is, why do the Controllers want to control the people of Earth?
In a nutshell, the controllers have been in control down here for millennia and are still very much determined to remain in control on Earth, with Earth plane humanity as their slaves. That's just the way they are, and as can be seen with certain ones down here who thrive on controlling and bullying others. They just keep reincarnating here in the same old holding pattern that began right back in biblical times. They themselves have lost connection with the Christ consciousness within, so they are trapped and controlled themselves by the antichrist element of fear. Funnily enough, we had a message sent through on the subject of the antichrist given by the Mantid Collective just a few days ago. I'll read this out at the end of the session. For now, to continue on, the controllers need to be in control of others. It energises them as they feed off human fear. Enslavement is most often imposed upon human minds through disempowering belief systems, but also by keeping people poor and needy, such as in third world countries. Technology has been given and developed on Earth, which would enable everybody to have sufficient to live, but this technology has been suppressed by the controllers in order to keep people poor, needy and victimised.
It would appear as though the controllers don't only want to control us, but want to kill us off as well, with the untoward effects of 5G, which are not good for our health, and the beginnings of this coronavirus, which are suspicious as well. These things are killing us off, and it's kind of conflicting, because on one hand, we've been told that this is the time that Mother Earth will shed many of her inhabitants so that she can evolve into the fifth world, and then we have this propaganda of conspiracy theories and of the controllers wanting to kill us off. So it is rather confusing. Can you please talk us through this to bring a bit of clarity into the situation?
Yes, in situations like this, it's really important to look at it from the bigger picture perspective. This is why I don't take a lot of notice of all the myriad conspiracy theories. Whether these conspiracies and finger-pointing have any basis or not really doesn't matter in the long run. God, source, oneness, energy, whatever you want to call it, has the ultimate control over the whole thing, and it's time for the planet to shift to a higher energy frequency. Some people are just not ready for this, and so they have to depart and then come back either when they are ready or else reincarnate onto another lower dimensional Earth which suits them better. That's the bottom line of the whole thing. The conspiracy theory mindset is the fear-oriented path, and the planetary shift is the love-oriented path. I'm not denying either, because both these realities are happening at the same time, and it's our free will choice which one we support by tuning in and putting our energy into. Two seemingly opposing realities can most certainly be in operation at the same time. Dolores Cannon talked about this in her books.
Yes, she did. This information, and also quite complex information about our multidimensional reality, came through many of her clients during their regressions. It came from many independent sources, and so much of this information is now proving to be correct.
Yes. The other bottom line is death is not the huge tragedy and eternal ending that people down here think it is. It's just a natural part of life and our path to further evolution. We choose the time and manner of our passing before we're even born into a life, and there are no accidents, only opportunities to move on and evolve spiritually. So everyone who dies because of the virus, 5G or whatever, has chosen that on a higher level of their being. If by any chance the controllers do kill us all off, then we can reincarnate to a higher version of Earth and they can have this one all to themselves. They're welcome to it.
Yes, absolutely. I have to agree. But I think what a lot of us are struggling with is the way that everyone is being controlled right now, and controlled we are for sure. That's not a conspiracy theory. Everyone is acquiescing to the government's demands, and people don't understand it because intuitively they know it's not necessary. Obviously, we can all see the collapse of the economy playing out, and that's not a conspiracy theory either. But is it one of the But it is one of the predictions of the conspiracy theorists. It's not about conspiracy theories, it's about what's playing out right now. I think it's necessary to acknowledge this and not just gloss over it by saying choose love, because that can sound complacent without any background, and we really do need this message, the real message, to be heard loud and clear right now. It's crunch time. It absolutely comes down to love or fear.
Yes, Paula, for sure. Okay, let's put all this under the microscope and look at it carefully. The main problem on planet Earth is that technology has outrun spirituality. This is a lethal situation with any planetary culture. Any planetary culture that allows technology advancement to run rampant without the spiritual maturity to handle it wisely is doomed to failure. This can be compared to a 5-year-old child being given a loaded gun to play with. It will always end in tears. And this is the situation on Earth right now. If it is allowed to continue, we will destroy ourselves and our planet, no question. Surely people don't want this to happen. As you said before, Paula, this is crunch time.
Yes, the economy is suffering, which is a major worry for people, but the problem is that the human activities and industries driving the economy are killing our planet, bottom line.
Yes, the strict lockdown laws passed by our government are working by withdrawing the destructive human element from the equation and enabling the planet to start healing. Here in Australia, this strict lockdown is working. This is the bottom line and it's fact. The infection rates are dropping rapidly and we've had very few deaths compared with other countries. Many humans really are like uncontrolled children. They don't have the spiritual maturity to behave and act as a mature human should. Like immature children, some need protecting from themselves and their own irresponsible attitude and behaviour. You cannot have a free and lawless society, especially in times of crisis. The controls that our government is putting on us right now are necessary. When the off-planet people talk about the control and brainwashing imposed upon humans of Earth, they're referring to much more subtle controls than this. All civilised planetary societies in the universe have laws for people to abide by, some much stricter than down here. An example is the way people on Earth have been brainwashed and forced by religion to just keep reproducing, with birth control being banned and frowned upon by the church authorities. This has led to severe overpopulation, which is destroying the ecosystem of the planet. No civilised planetary society would allow this to happen. If we can just be patient, which is part of learning to be spiritual anyway, and stick to the restrictions as we've been asked to do, the economy will return to normal more quickly, but hopefully in a way less detrimental to our Mother Earth. All we can hope is that lessons have been learnt and that world governments will finally admit the reality of the human element that is behind climate change and make a more focused effort to curb human pollution.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly the atmosphere and waterways of Earth have started to recover, just in the short space of time that the planet has been in lockdown, and therefore free of human pollution. It's quite miraculous and proves what a huge difference can be made.
It sure does. So the question is, do we give in to fear and panic and blatantly disregard what we're being asked to do by our government, thus spreading this virus far and wide? We only have to look at the fact, and again not a conspiracy theory, of the massive death toll and rate of infection in other countries, or else we can respond with love, noting the downward trend of deaths and infections here in Australia, again not a conspiracy theory but rather fact, and continue to do whatever is required to keep these measures and to do it with a good heart, thus ensuring that we'll come out at the other end sooner rather than later. I can really see the prediction made by the Greys to Betty Andreasen that we discussed in episode 23 about the children of the northern people that's being played out right now. The northern hemisphere of Earth is being hit far harder than we are in the south. The planet is massively overpopulated, which has led to the high pollution levels. This has to be dealt with before any new age can be properly birthed. The yang energy, patriarchal, warmongering, conquering and conflict mindset is largely the result of this overpopulation. The planet is going through a birthing process involving labour pains, which is what we're dealing with right now. Anything that reduces the population and highlights the energy imbalance is a blessing in disguise, as Mars said of the Repterran Controllers. They are ultimately giving us a kickstart into fifth world consciousness. It's all playing out for our highest good, conspiracy theories included.
So really, when you think about it, it is an explosion of imbalanced, overly yang masculine energy moving through and bursting to the surface, hopefully to be cleared. What has gone on here in the past in the way of sexual harassment and pedophilia aimed at women and children by the church, and in the film industry, the workplace, and with domestic violence in the home, is finally being brought to light. It can be compared to a nasty, deep-seated infection being drawn to the surface to enable it to be healed. It's also a birthing process and does come back to what Mars tells us, that the controllers are a blessing in disguise, as they're ultimately giving us a kickstart into the fifth world. In other words, it's all playing out for our highest good.
Yes, and the thing too is the conspiracy theories tell us that the lockdown is a sneaky way for the controllers to introduce the 5G system. But it's also a great way for the higher forces to help clean up the planetary atmosphere. People keep complaining that the ETs should be coming here to help us with this, but what's the use? Within a few days it'll all be back to pollution again. The onus is on humanity to clean up their own act, and it's no accident that massive death tolls are happening in areas of serious overpopulation and over-industrialisation. It's the Repterran Controllers behind the religions of Earth who are responsible for banning birth control. This was a totally ridiculous ruling and clearly the work of an imbalanced, patriarchal and dominating system based on control, fear and greed, all the marks of the antichrist energy within Earth plane society. Speaking of which, several centuries ago, the prophet Nostradamus delivered a prediction of the Antichrist manifesting on Earth around the time we're living in right now. Here's the message sent through a couple of days ago by an associate of ours from the Mantid Collective on this very subject of the Antichrist consciousness. I'll read it out. When you think about what the word Antichrist means, it is in opposition, rival to, opposite of, and opposed to or against Christ and Christ consciousness. As a possible way of looking at this, what if the Antichrist is not just one person taking on and embodying this way of being? It may very well be a collective way of being, indicating that all those leaders that uphold this energy are going to stand for and support what is negative, and we will recognise this as such. The Christ consciousness is a spark that we all have within our DNA, and it has awakened and is awakening now in those of us who are remembering our true nature of self. The true nature of self is that balance of yin and yang, feminine and masculine energy, that wholeness that Yeshua, who you know as Jesus, attained and demonstrated. Unconditional love, peace, patience, compassion, forgiveness, humility, generosity, charity, gratitude, non-judgment, faith, divinity and oneness. The energy of the Antichrist, however, seems to be that which is lacking or devoid, or we could say dormant within those that are of this opposite collective, which expresses through fear, a need for conflict and control, impatience, lack of compassion, greed, resentment, pride, ego, selfishness, judgment, divisiveness, racism and intolerance. We have now arrived at the precipice where we are facing that very crossroad or fork in the path to awareness, enlightenment and ascension. When we come into alignment with balance, then it will follow suit that Mother Earth will also reflect this balance. The yang polarity will no longer dominate the energetic drive that is perpetuating this imbalance of yang and yin. The tipping point has started, and the weight of carrying this load will no longer be able to be sustained and will fall, collapsing over time. The will of the people, along with awareness and deeper understanding, is what will be the foundation that builds a new beginning. This will determine who will be a figurehead or representative of the people, along with this new awareness. Understanding will provide the structure needed to raise this new paradigm or hologram from 3D reality to 5D and to crystallise it into being. The polarisation and duality of Earth plane reality signifies a collective energy being demonstrated or expressed as extreme negative and positive polarity. When the point of balance is established between the two, then we will arrive at the 0 or 1 point of beingness.
Yeah, wow. Well, as we keep reminding people in all of our messages, we create our own reality through our thought patterns, which tend towards being either negative or positive. We have the free will to choose either. Through this situation that humanity is facing right now, as negative as it seems, there are such amazing positive responses from so many people. We're seeing unconditional love, compassion, unselfishness, deep caring, empathy and kindness in every action in everyday life. Let this be what sets the pattern for our future world. Just letting our listeners know, Judy's books are available from Amazon and Kindle, and you can tune into many more questions and answers, as well as messages from Judy's grey teachers, Maris and Serapis, in our other YouTube clips. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. Thank you, Judy, and love to all of our listeners. Bye for now.